It's the SDG Podcast. Before we get started, you can check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com/podcast or find us on all the social medias, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Solution Design Group. Welcome, everybody, to another wonderful SDG Podcast. We're going to talk data centers, these gigantic, grid-killing, water-sucking, power evil, horrible, highly contested data centers that we need to use really good, powerful AI. And there's a lot of negativity around them. There's bans, there's all sorts of stuff going on. So here to talk about it and maybe clear up some misconceptions and all that, we've got James Kirwin from our data team. And we have Eric Schneider, who knows a lot of stuff about a lot of things. So he's always good to have around. And he's
Howdy.
with hardware.
I don't know if James is aware that this is an audio-only podcast.
It's not.
Are we doing video again?
Well, we record with the video, but we
don't put it out.
We don't put it out. So because it's good to see each other. But now there's a video recording.
That's right.
Like you can do video and audio. So all those new things.
I just wanted the audience to know that James greeted them warmly in a way that
With
they
a
couldn't
wave.
see. Yeah, is all.
I waved loudly.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm Kyle Bacher, and hello. So James, you have a different view of data centers, I think, than the darkness and the hype, the anti-hype.
Yeah. Well, so I have to be in agreement with a lot of the hype that the current status of data centers is terrible. Like it is. That's pretty undisputed. But data centers don't have to suck. You know, there's pretty straightforward, simple solutions that we just need to be willing to do, I think is the takeaway here. They may not be the most efficient routes, but they certainly are the ones that are giving people better feelings about these huge data centers going in.
You're kind of breaking up, James. So how do you do? Well, the wrong way, I guess, is if we look at the problems, which is what is this going to do to the water table? Because they got to be cooled.
Right.
There's noise issues that need to be addressed. There's the power grid that needs to be addressed.
For anyone who spent any time on a data center floor, it is one of the noisiest places in the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you got
and
like
their
what?
Cooling
like,
systems
like,
are
like
even louder.
Like a space shuttle launch, monster truck rally, data centers. It's kind of the order, I think.
Yeah, they're right up there in the like 85 to 100 decibel range, which is like a Harley Davidson motorcycle or a jackhammer. Like they're not quiet, and that's pretty disruptive to any community around them. That being said, that really loud noise outside the data center is usually their cooling fans. On the roof, there's huge industrial cooling fans. And that style of cooling, I think most of them are evaporative cooling, which is also where all the water use goes.
I was gonna say we should talk about water because people talk about that a lot. Like data centers are going to eat all the water.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I grew up thinking that water and electricity and electronics don't mix. So where's the water going?
Yeah. So they're using evaporative cooling in these systems. So literally just pumping water through a fan to create cool air to cool these data centers.
Right.
So for the folks up north, in the southern states and the high desert where it's very, very dry, they have what's called swamp coolers or evaporative coolers, which is a big, huge sponge that water goes into, and then a fan blows through, and it cools whatever, and it humidifies the air. So
Yeah.
it's great to stand right in front of one of them when you're really hot after golf.
Well, and
The problem with that,
it's how you work too, right? That's what the whole point of sweat is, that when it evaporates off you feel cooler.
Exactly. The problem with that is the best places to use evaporative cooling doesn't have a lot of water. So to use it that way is incredibly wasteful. So two of the big problems we have with data centers, the sound and the use of water, would both be solved by the same would be solved in the same way, in that we just switch how we're doing the cooling of these giant data centers. I mean, the best option is going to be direct liquid cooling, a non-conductive liquid, and just direct sinking all of these. To be fair, that's also the most expensive, so it's the least likely to actually happen. But we do have direct air cooling. It is being used in some of the higher desert places. It still requires the huge fans, so that's not solving the sound issue, but it would reduce the water usage by, 70%, it looks like.
So Elon Musk is talking about putting them in space, and where cooling won't be so much of a problem. Getting the data back to Earth in a timely manner is physics.
James seems skeptical.
Yeah.
Well, so on the space station, their biggest problem is overheating, not being too cold. Like, people say space is cold, but vacuums are incredible insulators. Like that thermos everybody carries, that is a vacuum sealed container, because vacuums have poor thermal transition. Yeah. So putting a data center up there and hoping it's just going to throw all the heat into space is moderately absurd. We'd be better off just sticking them in the ocean. Please don't stick them in the ocean. I was not advocating for that.
So when you throw a satellite into space, right, the service life of that satellite is usually pretty long. And it's funny because the data centers in space thing is focused principally on the idea that, like, that's where AI data centers would go, and the turnover for AI hardware right now is like 3.5 minutes. So it's just so it feels like we're just going to create a bunch of e-waste in space that is nobody's responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Space is like where you get to abandon stuff,
right,
and not get in trouble for it.
I am not a fan of just stick it in space for any reason. Like, I'm a huge proponent of solar, but I don't think we should put huge solar farms up there either. But I'm a little paranoid about what's called locked-in syndrome. Because if a piece of space trash hits a space station and blows it into pieces, all those pieces fly off and hit other things and blow them into pieces, and it creates a cascade event. And then there's just a shell of garbage around our planet, and we can't get through it to get back into space, and we've locked ourselves in. I really don't want that to happen.
No, there's no easy solution for that. I think
the best plan I've heard with space so far is the idea that Elon Musk is going to launch himself into space. I really hope that happens. so he's just not here anymore.
I did not just say we don't want to put any more trash in space.
That's true. You are correct.
So I'm curious about the timeline. These problems are solvable, I think. But it's going to be time, and it might be money.
Yeah, well, it's definitely going to be money.
If it takes the money to cool it without trashing the cities around it and ruining the water table, like Bill Gates bought all that farmland, like right over the biggest water table, I think, in the country. And of course, fact check that, because I'm just winging that stuff. I don't know for sure. I heard it. Yeah. But, you got the Great Lakes, you get a lot of water up there. who cares about Lake Erie? Just use that. No, I'm kidding.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing with like up here in the Midwest is if you want to cool your data center, you just open the window and done deal, right?
Yeah.
So, but in the desert, which is ironically where solar power works the best,
Right.
right?
Well, and I think that's one of the things that we're always going to come back to that simple equation of cheap, good, fast, pick two. So they're trying to do cheap and fast, but the solution isn't good. I think that's where we're ending up with these data centers. Like, okay, sure, we can cool it with this water because it's crazy cheap and we can do it immediately. We can attach it to the grid without any infrastructure compensation and we cause brownouts because it's cheap and it's fast. We can, plop down a concrete building in a couple of weeks because it's cheap and fast, but it's ugly and it destroys the area around it. All these things. It's just that if we moved away from the cheap and went with good and fast, there's plenty of options. I mean, that huge warehouse style building has a giant flat roof that just screams, put solar panels on me. And we have grid scale battery storage that's available in shipping containers. Drop a couple of those in the parking lot, hook them up to solar, hook it up to the system. Is that more expensive? Yeah, it absolutely is. But you're not going to get the loud sound from the 500 diesel generators that they're trying to run these places on.
Is there some kind of a like tipping point with the scale of the data center, the size? It's like, is it better to have like one giant data center shaped exactly like Nevada or Wyoming, than having, smaller ones, warehouse size?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's often a consideration for data centers is resiliency, and you can't have resiliency when it's only in one place.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, not only that, but a lot of the places way out in the middle of nowhere that would be perfect for a data center aren't perfect for a data center because there's no infrastructure in those places. They're devoid of people, which means they're also devoid of infrastructure. So,
and once the data centers are built, they don't require that many people to be on site running them.
No.
So this idea that we're going to create all these jobs, it's like, well, we're going to create all these construction jobs and we're going to have construction companies that have never done this before because there's not enough of construction companies that have built data centers before. It's like, what is that? Does that mean anything? I don't know.
I mean,
cooling.
There's still straightforward things that have to happen in the area that would, you'd have jobs in the area for the construction, for the local community. But yeah, I mean, it's less a byproduct of the nature of data centers and more of, when you're talking about major companies like Amazon and Google. There's a lot of pressure to compete and then that's a lot of pressure to automate everything. And so, as many humans as you can eliminate from the equation, the more the more efficient it's going to be. So it's not, I don't think it's them like going out of their way to harm the community and not make it work for jobs as much as that's just the nature of that competitive market when you're dealing with technology.
So let's design a data center that is actually a benefit to the community. That is like, wow, we want one of these because it will bring us more power, more water, less noise. It's going to cure disease. Yeah. It's going to.
So we're going to go back. We're going to go back to the NASA of old with a room full of human calculators. You submit your question and they'll field it and get back to you.
Your AI becomes trivia night.
Yeah.
It just takes all those answers from your little machine.
With the exception of the job piece, I think there's solutions available right now. And even the job piece we can somewhat ameliorate. I know I'm gonna make so many people angry here because I'm about to say it. We just need to legislate restrictions and guidelines on these data centers. People don't like regulations, but that's what we need in order to make these fit in with our communities. I come from a background in construction, and on any number of contracts, there's requirements for at least X number of local people to be on the job in order to bid it. That's one of the things, because otherwise you're not guaranteed that those construction jobs are local,
Right.
unless you legislate that it has to be local. It doesn't have to be local. That company could come in from anywhere else, even out of country.
And not to get off topic, but yeah, as much as regulations can hamper. At the same time, if you look at modern regulated banking versus something like cryptocurrency, where it's all just fraud and theft and everything, like there's a nice contrast. There's a nice contrast there of what it means to have an unregulated market. And so regulations do go, and to a degree, the only governance here is the government, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And in some communities, because we talk about like the impact of the community, the community has gotten ahead of this to say, is this actually beneficial for us to have this here? And they've just said no and rejected it.
Okay.
I think I think about like your building codes and permits and all that, and then pretty much requiring somebody that knows how it should be to come by and take a look. I had my air conditioning and my stove install and my water heater and my gas meter move all inspected last week in one trip. And he came through and looked at everything. He was there for 15 minutes and it was all good. But they could have done some things with the air conditioner, like run the big hose across a high traffic area. Now you've got a tripping hazard. You're building a house that doesn't meet the roof pitch requirements and R factors. And, there's a lot of things that are there because bad stuff happened to people at one point and they said enough.
I mean, I failed my basement inspection that I did personally. Like I did the construction and it failed because I didn't adequately fire block the wall. So, which is good. Like it's actually incredible feedback of like, oh, the room I'm building for my daughter to sleep in, a fire could spread too quickly in here. I'm glad you noted that for me. Like it is a good thing in the end. Apologies. So when some of this stuff happens, right? Like it's not a problem until it's a problem, and it could take time for the government to react. Right? There's we mentioned cryptocurrencies. There's seemingly been no desire to really regulate that market much, but something like this where it has such a direct impact on people and communities and so forth, it feels like it's something that really warrants it.
Yeah. So let's do a thought experiment on what would these regulations be that would actually like solve these problems truly. When we're talking about how it affects communities, one of the things I like to talk about is, the phrase has been around for ages, think globally, act locally. Well, yeah, these data centers, their clients are global. AI is running all over the place, but they affect the community they sit in. And I think there's not enough thought towards the community these data centers are in.
I think we've got this ramp up, this kind of race between the adoption and usage of AI and the data centers that are going to crunch all the data and give you all the output. And these are all tied to private companies. And they're banking on being profitable at some point in the future. This is not a charitable endeavor. And I think that, you have, when you build a stadium, there's tax breaks and promises of all these businesses and things coming in, and the city ends up paying for the whole thing, and it's just a big cash suck. I'd like to data centers. It'd be good if there was a promise of like money getting pumped into that community. like part of the profits, whatever, if they can figure it out, if that data center has a net positive, then how does it help the community? So maybe there needs to be at least thinking around that. You've got physical issues. You got your water, your power, and your noise. So I think those have to be addressed. Like you have to have your own power source, or you can only use so much of the grid, or
Right. Well, that's kind of what I was talking about is with these centers is they're just a massive single use project. Like they take up a huge amount of land for these buildings. And that's all they do is just sit there and process data, and they suck in power and water. And that's it.
Yeah.
But if we multi-use them, again, like I said, just throw solar panels on the roof and stick a couple of wind towers in amongst them, at least now you've doubled the usage of the property and offset at least some of the power usage for these giant systems, reducing its impact on the grid around it, at least somewhat, right?
I'll develop sound power. And that way you just want to make it as loud as possible. So it just perpetual motion. It's just going to feed itself.
But
yeah,
these data centers, they turn most of the electricity they use directly into heat, which is why cooling is such a big deal. But depending on where these are placed, we can use that waste heat for municipal systems.
Right.
We don't have the infrastructure around it here in the US, really. In the Scandinavian countries, a number of them have citywide hot water usage because they have access to so much geothermal that they actually run hot water under their streets to melt the snow and ice off of it.
Yeah, and they're powered that way. They have this huge power source right underneath.
Right.
Hopefully they don't explode like Mount St. Helens, but you're right. I think, piping the hot water like to the ice rink next door, or that seems counterintuitive.
There's multiple like energy captures that are really about heating water, right? Like,
right.
So and like solar is a little more direct, but like nuclear is heating water, and some of the older, like I don't know if it's panned out, but like some of the solar is like where it reflects onto a tower and it heats up and it heats water and makes steam and turn a turbine. So in theory, you can capture it to do that.
Yeah,
so it becomes a data center / power plant.
And that's exactly it. Yeah, we could capture it. Even if we couldn't necessarily capture it to run a power plant, maybe that's too much condensing to get it to hot enough to become usable power. But if you could municipally send that out in a way that it just works as hot water, and we can heat other buildings with that same heat, or transfer it to somewhere it's better used into a water heating system for a next door something, that's just reduces the waste heat in general. And that's I think that's the big thing is, it hits the grids, it hits the water table, but we can offset that just by changing how we're cooling and how we're generating power.
I think instead of giving a big tax break to the people that are putting the data center in, give the tax break to the people in the town that have to live with it.
Exactly. Well, and I don't understand why they get tax breaks, because they don't actually provide a boost to the local economy. So having local tax breaks seems absurd to me.
Yeah. I think
or
the
maybe
idea
I'm missing the point.
idea of tax breaks is jobs and value to the community.
Exactly. Going back to your example of the stadium, like when a stadium's built, there's going to be a number of job opportunities within the stadium itself.
Yep.
Ongoing. And people are traveling in from outside the city to be in that city, which helps out hotels and restaurants, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're seeing changing economic systems, whereas the data center is going to have like 4 people running it. Okay, maybe not 4, but very few people maintaining it day to day, and people aren't flying in to visit data centers. Really, it's not stimulating the economy in any ancillary way.
Yeah, and I assume generally the companies that own those data centers are not local businesses either. Like they're not a part of the community, right? They're
Right.
they're out on the West Coast or in Texas or something, and this data center is being built elsewhere.
So they're a tax on resources. They're an eyesore, and they're noisy and annoying. So I get why people have a problem with them. I do. But also as a data person, I'm like, I really like data centers. They're good for what we do. I just wish they didn't have so many negatives with them.
Here's my question is, because I've been around for a long time, and data centers have always existed by my recollection, but it's much more in it's a much more common conversation all of a sudden. So I assume this is just due to recent ramp ups and build outs of data centers, right?
Right.
Is really the thing, and as far as I know, it's not that AWS continues to grow, or GCP or Azure or anything like that. It's not that linear scaling that was happening with those platforms. It's AI, right?
It is.
And and it feels like a lot of it is predictive of what capacity will be needed. But I'm curious if there's been any indication of that being the need, like that scale of build out. Because I know everyone's racing to be the AWS of that space, and so everyone's doing their own thing. But has the demand kept up with that capacity, and is that actually going to continue?
So I think this is a 2-part answer, and I think the demand is not keeping up with the capacity, or the demand is keeping up with capacity. We're needing all of that we're building right now, but I don't think it's going to be true ongoing. I think we're in the excited honeymoon phase of AI, and everybody really wants to use it and it's beneficial, but we're using it for too many things. And people are going to get.
And it's being used at a loss too, like financially.
Right.
Right. Like you said, the honeymoon phase, and it's happened in a lot of other semi-novel industries where Airbnb was actually great. I love the honeymoon phase of Airbnb and the honeymoon phase of Uber and some of those ideas where they were effectively operating at a loss to build market share.
Yep.
And then when we got to the real cost, it was like, oh, I guess I'll just stay at a hotel then. Or I'll just use a taxi then.
And that's exactly it. Like we're looking at these AI platforms, and they're so beneficial. Did I use AI to help me research topics today? I sure did.
Yeah.
But it's an assistive tool. It's not meant to be the be all and end all. It's just another tool in our arsenal. So people thinking this is just going to replace everything, and that's the capacity we're moving towards. I think we're going to find out in a few years when people take off the rose-colored glasses and they get back to the mundanity of using AI as just another tool in their daily life. The demand's not going to be there anymore for that amount of capacity. And we're going to have all these data centers that aren't really necessary.
Well, and the, like quantized models and the stuff the stuff you can now run on a really nice, super powered laptop on your own, with some of these different type like DeepSeek and things like that. Is that a factor that we're building for this big, huge glut of need from data centers, but now there's less, usage, more efficient usage, like is building fast a good idea? I don't know. Because the hardware is not going to outpace the usage in the short term. I don't believe, with all the conjecture and stuff around the data centers and time frames being missed.
Yeah.
Things
Well,
taking
Right.
longer.
Well, but if I set up a free money machine in a local park, the demand would be limitless, right?
yeah, that's fair.
And so the demand is artificially stimulated by it being close to free, relatively speaking,
Yeah.
compared to what it really costs. So as soon as that catches up, where my the thing I use most commonly just in my personal life for just like AI usage is like an aggregator that costs something like $5 a month. If that catches up where now it's suddenly $50 a month, I'm not sure the value's there. It just spent a lot of time lying to me about shingle code yesterday, and it was a giant waste of my time. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's there's a novelty there. It feels like a free money machine right now, but
Yeah.
what's the investment from the consumption side going to be in the long run? And also, and it feels like a lot of these build outs too are built on the idea that, you see it where company A gives money to company B gives money to company C, and company C gives money to company A, and all of them can say they had $700 million in investment in AI, and all they did was pass the money in a circle, right?
Basically, yeah. Well, and I think you are onto a point there also, is when people realize we keep calling it AI, artificial intelligence,
Yeah,
but
right.
people are going to realize that it's not intelligent. It's not intelligent, and when people realize that, I think there's going to be a lot of backlash, and people are just going to walk away from it because it's not what they thought it was. It's algorithmic inference. It's aggregated information, but it's not artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was actually my sitting on my porch shaking my fist thing out of the gate was it being called AI, and I've just given in. But you're absolutely right.
Well, it's right now, everything is kind of geared toward the large language models. And
Right.
is that really going to lead to the big breakthroughs in future AI stuff like AGI, artificial general intelligence,
General
where
intelligence. Yeah.
it passes the
Well,
Turing test and all that,
yeah.
whatever.
And I mean, they added the G to that because they had already used AI for something that's not intelligent. So they had to add artificial
Right.
general intelligence. Well, okay, sure, but
Yeah.
and I think
It's
think it's
AAI.
already amazing. But
As AAI, actually artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
right.
I think
And that's how you get these weird things like that.
I love it as a writing partner, as a research tool. Um, there's just a lot of uses I have for it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times it's faster just to ask a question, get a response, copy that, and then Slack that to the person that wanted the step-by-step instructions for something. And it's like, oh, I can give you that. Here it is. You could have done that yourself. But they don't know that. And it's like a time saver for me. Like you were saying, it's going to augment current people in their
Yeah.
positions. This
But
idea that it's going to replace all your jobs, I let that happen naturally. Don't go in and cut 20 people because AI
right.
exists. And that's the problem, is some hype merchant is out there making outrageous claims like, hey,
Yeah.
you're going to be able to cut your staff in half in 5 years. And then a CEO hears that, and that becomes a project
Yeah.
and a timeline. And that's, I think that's backwards. Like
Yeah.
when you get
Well,
to a point where you're using it and you just don't need that many people anymore, I think that's when you make that decision. And I think there's some, like, call centers are kind of ripe for that type of cutting of staff.
Right. Well,
Um,
that's every time we have a big technological jump, we go through this exact same story. When the automobile really started coming into play, oh my God, everybody's going to lose their job as a horse handler. While true,
I did. I was a horse handler, and
yeah,
now I'm in tech instead.
yeah. But I mean, we make that jump. But this whole like building data centers everywhere on Earth right now is a little bit like, oh, we're selling a ton of Model Ts in New York City. Let's put gas stations in rural Iowa. Wait, what?
they need them.
They do. And so, like,
Quick Trip.
it's how much infrastructure do we need to build out ahead of actual usage on a globalized scale?
Yeah, well, and what happens on the tail end too? Like this is going up, and at some point it would plateau, because we have not seen exponential growth in the quality of the models, and so there will not be exponential growth in the usage, and so at some point when this plateaus or retracts, I mean, what happens to these data centers? I mean, the thing that's most visible in terms of large buildings is, it feels like almost every community I visit on vacation that has a dead mall in it, and it just sits there. There's
your data center.
Yeah, when a data center dies, I assume it's the same thing. It just sits there. And even if the building itself gets reused for something, all this hardware gets turned over constantly. Where does it all go?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and also back to a point Kyle made about, laying people off and whatever. If it was a perfect world, AI wouldn't remove jobs. It would just remove hours. We could dial back to 30 hours a week for the same amount of productivity because it sped things up for people. It wouldn't be like laying folks off. We'd just have a better work-life balance.
Oh, I gotta spend those extra 10 hours writing AI usage policies instead. Sorry.
It's funny you should say that. Yeah, I think I like the idea of using a dead mall for a data center, using the Orange Julius for the cooling, and a lot of things you could do there. It's sad to see that stuff just abandoned.
Right.
I follow a few Reddits and a few channels, and it's, the feed is just one, the whole mansion's fully furnished, and people just walked away, and no one's living there.
Yeah. Well, and I think we're going to see that in 5 years, these just dead data centers, because there wasn't the demand, or the company that owned them, their AI wasn't the full 20% market share, so they just died.
Yeah.
And
what if the technology changes drastically, that requires like whole refits of stuff, and
that happens all the time in
recycling.
Yeah, that happens all the time. Somebody makes a minor breakthrough, and now every piece of hardware you have is obsolete.
Yeah. At some point, Windows 10 will actually stop working, I wonder. Or maybe not, but
Slack is on a daily basis threatening me now, because my mandated workstation is Windows 10, and I get some nasty grams from Slack saying that if I don't shape up soon, that all of my data is going to be compromised. It feels like a threat. Like they're gonna leak my data if I don't upgrade to Windows 11.
Ooh, good segue. Data leaks.
Securing these things.
Yeah, let's talk about, if these are going up so fast, are they capable of actually putting in the security necessary? And if you're feeding company information to these AI models, if they're out in a data center somewhere, do you own that data anymore?
Well, the model itself was created using stolen data, so why not just keep dumping it in?
Well, that was kind of my point is like if you have employees using data and you don't own the large language model and you don't own the servers, that means as soon as you feed it into that system, you don't own it anymore. So if you got an employee putting confidential business information in there, it's gone. It's not yours anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't like it's out there, right? You can't stop your employees from using these tools at this point.
Right.
And so to your point, if you're not providing them, right? Like if you're not setting them up, making it easy to access and whatever, then yeah, your employees will be uploading sensitive documents straight to, companies owned by some of the most untrustworthy people around.
Yeah. Help me write this company budget. And they just put the entire financial information of your company into a free chat GPT online.
Yep.
And that's now just part of the model and it's accessible to anybody who uses chat GPT.
I saw a certain social media site owner, billionaire, promoting the idea that you should upload your medical records and have it to figure out what's wrong with you. That sounds perfect.
Yeah. And that's data security is always a huge hot button topic on anything we talk about. And AI makes it so much worse unless you, and especially these giant data centers that are just being thrown up quickly. Are they taking the care to secure those?
I've thought of this for a couple of years, and it just pushes me toward like local storage, just creating your own little data center and using open source tools and models and all that. And, this runs our agent for our company. We have our agent and we have our people and we run it off of this, and we don't actually allow connections to these IP addresses or these domains, because we don't want people doing the entire budget of the company, which is so appealing. It's so appealing to give away everything and say, fix my business, fix my life, make this awesome. And right now there's a lot of people kind of just goofing around with it because they're not sure how to use it. And so how much of this usage that they're basing their future growth and needs upon is really legitimate? I'm making silly pictures all day.
Well, and one of those things we need to remember is if a product is free, you're the product. Usually, if they're letting you use their AI for free, it means everything you put into it is just teaching that AI, or they're trying to buy market share. Again, you are the product that they're purchasing, your interest, your time.
Yeah.
So we need to remember, free is not free. There's no such thing as free from a company ever, because they can't afford free.
Hey,
right.
Hey, chatbot. My roofing contractor says that my roof needs to have solid decking. Can you help me define that? Great question. You should look into Tamco Titan XL shingles, available at Lowe's today, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, it goes from a useful answer to a useful advertisement.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that some of the companies, given the inability to stay competitive and make money, have started at least integrating advertising into the user interface. But yeah, it's only a matter of time before the premium placement is that it's in the answer.
I mean, look at Google and Bing as search engines. It used to be that the top result was the top result. Now you have to go past the first 3 sponsored results
Yeah,
before you get.
the sponsors, even when sponsors started out, they looked a lot different. They were
Yeah.
thin and along the top, and now they look the same as a normal result.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly torn between, like, I'll search for something and there's a sponsored result from a company and then their natural search result right below that. Of, do I just spitefully click the sponsored result for that same link because it'll cost them money?
Yeah.
But then all I'm doing is making Google richer too.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, I didn't use Bing on purpose the other day, but I used Bing the other day because I clicked on something and it brought up a search. But it was a sponsored result, their AI result, 2 more sponsored results,
Right.
3 natural results, and then 3 more sponsored results. So on the entire page, I got 3 natural results, and everything else was advertisements.
Yeah.
And then the AI result is them pulling content from a website, so that you don't click through and give that site any traffic too, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then there's
where this
shenanigans. There's definite shenanigans with, the burying certain people, like singling companies out, singling people out, and burying all their results so they don't come up. Yeah, it's just, there's a lot of that, but I see back to the data centers. I think that this is a case where it's going to take them so long to implement all those data centers that maybe the guidelines and some of those rules and some of that legislation can actually get ahead of something for once in the IT world.
But will they?
No.
Yeah, I mean, at least in America, I mean, it feels like we're on a regressive track right now. Right. So I don't think it's going to happen in the next few years.
I do think this is a largely bipartisan issue.
Yeah.
It is, but also, we used to outlaw online gambling, and now it's rampant. So I wouldn't.
You can gamble online?
Constantly, yeah. Like, they just gave it a different name. It's not gambling, it's a prediction market.
Oh. That sounds
it's
legit.
Investing in event futures.
Yeah. Right? That sounds very financially sound, right? But it's just gambling.
It's just gambling. Yeah, it's straight up just gambling, and they're being stewed into the ground right now. So that's
my personal hero is the guy that bet money on the high temperature and then drove out to the weather station and blew a hairdryer on the weather station to make it read hotter, and then won the bet. He'll get arrested and all the money will get taken away, but he's still my hero for rigging the market in such a blatantly trackable way.
Well, we got about 4 minutes, gentlemen. Do we have any parting thoughts?
Yeah, we do not have to continue to let data centers be this giant problem that they are. We have all the solutions we need available to us today for just a little bit more money and effort. We could make these better.
I will commit to paying $5 more per month for the next 2 years if they agree to spend the more money. And
put solar panels on the roof.
I think I got it. I think that you guys are good. I think I can, for that $5, I think we can cover all of it.
Yeah. It's not $5 for everybody. It's just $5. Just Kyle.
We shoot an ocean into space and then put data centers in the oceans, space ocean, and then a space elevator on a carbon nanotube that shoots down the data.
I see nothing wrong with this.
Yeah, I would say, what could possibly go wrong?
That's just genius.
I'll say my parting thought is not in my backyard. Just let Texas deregulate everything and build them there.
If they're going to make little tiny nuclear power plants, I will live next to one. I'm not afraid of if they use the technology they have today and build them right. I have no fear. So that's my hope, is that we get to a point where we're actually accepting and utilizing our best source of energy that we currently have available on the planet.
Yeah, there's plenty of things that can kill me on a daily basis, and I'm not afraid that my local power plant is one of them.
Right.
Because
all right.
It's regulated.
Well, gentlemen, thanks for being here today and talking about this. Eric Schneider, James Kirwin. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And we'll get the data center thing figured out. We'll have several meetings, drop some legislation. It'll be great.
Yep. And so that $5 donation will go a long ways.
Absolutely. Yep. Until next time, let's say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Solution Design Group is a digital product consultancy in Minneapolis. Check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com or look for us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Solution Design Group.